And she would love to know if there are people out there on the East Coast, especially because she's pretty much now starting to get people to set up different chapters here on the West Coast. The only other organization is an organization that you alluded to earlier, sir, called the Black Surfers Collective. Now, they're basically headquartered out of Southern California. And the great thing about Black Surfers Collective, I go down and try to help them sometimes because what they do is they take inner city. Like, let me just give you an example. Now, you mentioned the fact that I retired from LAPD. I spent my last 7 years in Southeast Division, which also includes Watts. Okay, Watts is maybe 12 miles from the Pacific Ocean on Imperial Highway. Do you know there are black children living in Watts who've never been to the beach?
Oh, that's sad. That's so
See what I'm talking
sad.
about? We're talking 12 miles from the Pacific Ocean, and they have never been to the beach. So Black Service Collective, what we try to do during the summer months is hold little workshops, and we invite people to come out, and we have trained instructors who come out with them and get them acquainted with not being afraid of the water, giving them the basic skills to just even catch their first, even if it's, just a small wave. The look on somebody's face the first time they catch a wave, stand up on a board kind of thing. So I come down, I'm pretty busy. I coach a lot of girls in surfing from around the world, so I'm pretty busy. But I try to get in my schedule to go and help them out because Nick Gabaldon was the first black surfer from California. He died back in the 50s. In fact, the only book that I know of that ever mentions Nick Gabaldon, you probably all have heard of the TV show and the movies Gidget.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go back and find the original book about Gidget, which was written by her father. And they mention a black guy, because they call him a Negro, but they mention this black guy who was killed because what happened. Let me just give you an idea with Nick. Nick would surf, paddle 10 miles to get to the beach because he couldn't dare take his board hitchhiking on the road. And, there was so much segregation. He would paddle 10 miles to the beach to surf and then paddle 10 miles back after surfing.
Wow.
So one day he was surfing at Malibu, and we have a thing called shooting the pier where you actually take your board through the pier. And unfortunately, he hit the pier and died in an accident shooting the pier at Malibu. But every year on Nick Gabaldon's birthday, we have a memorial at in Santa Monica at a place called Inkwell. Why is it called Inkwell? Because back in the day, that was the only place where blacks and browns were allowed to go to the beach here in Santa Monica. By the way, that's where the sewage drain used to empty out into the ocean.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. And then Manhattan Beach, they got a place called Bruce's Beach. That used to be all black, but now the whites have taken that over. So except for a plaque in a park that most people don't know about, that used to be a black-only beach. And see, I know about this because, growing up in South Carolina, we weren't allowed to go to the beach, but like twice a year, Memorial Day and 4th of July, there was a section up in the Myrtle Beach area for blacks that was cordoned off, colored people only. And then I used to go watch people like James Brown for 50 cents. We'd have what's called when you graduated from high school in Charleston, we used to have a thing called a Friday night chicken train. Because the first thing you do is fry up a basket of chicken, and you get your child on that train and send them to New York to get away from Charleston. Well, on Memorial Day and 4th of July, people would cook up a bunch of chicken, and we'd take these old buses up to Myrtle Beach area, Carolina Beach, because that was the only beach in South Carolina that blacks were allowed to go to. So you would have groups like Otis Redding, James Brown, a lot of big names would come and play, and they didn't charge us anything. It was like dirt cheap back in those days. So, and the beaches were marked off, colored only, color section only. Wasn't that long ago, folks. I'm not that old. I'm going to be 62 this year. So people act like this stuff happened 200 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. I know all about not being able to drink out of a water fountain. So, Mike, to answer your question as far as going to Chief, is the fact that the Black Girls Surf, you can find them online. They have Facebook site. It's also a website. And the Black Surfers Collective. And whether you're on the East Coast or not, and, I heard the comments earlier about Maryland. I have coached surfers from Maryland and New Jersey who come out here for the Nationals. So there are some surfers, not many, but there's some surf spots up there on the Maryland Eastern Shore. And we would love to have some more people involved, some conscious people, because there's some organizations out there who call themselves like the Black Surfers Association. They don't do anything. It's like a feel-good get-together thing, and when I try to put stuff, they block me on their site because they don't want me even they're what we call the bougie of the college kids who think it's cool to say they're surfers, but they don't do a damn thing to help anybody else.
So, Mike, let me ask you this. When it comes to coaching,
have you found people receptive to even approach you about coaching them, or do you find that it's
You're
like,
a funny man. All right, so
okay.
I'm gonna try to make this quick here.
Yes, sir.
We got the Nationals coming up here in Huntington Beach soon, so I'll give you a good example. Last year, I'm from South Carolina.
Okay.
And there was a young lady out here from South Carolina who I'm like, well, she's from South Carolina. I try to help her out. But I guess her family can't get past the black thing. So there was a young lady who's from Florida, and her mom looked at me and goes, I don't give a damn about you being black. Guess whose daughter got a national title last year? Okay. So what I'm saying is I've coached girls who have gotten national titles. I've coached one young lady in stand-up paddle to 2 world titles. Most of my surfers are not from the United States because most whites in this country can't get past the black thing. I've got 3 young ladies right now from Florida who I coach when they come out here. I encourage and mentor a lot more surfers behind the scenes that their parents don't even know. So it's funny because these little white girls reach out to me. So they have to do it secretly because they don't want their parents to know that they're getting help from me. And then when they're here in contests, I'll be on the pier giving them little hand signals that nobody else knows, not even their parents. And it's like, why did my daughter do that? Well, I don't know, but she made it through her heat, so we can't complain. They have no idea that I'm coaching them long distance.
You better watch your butt doing that.
Okay. I know all about the, Me Too movement and the pedophile movement and being set up.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your little black butt and they're of the opposite color.
I don't understand. They're all the opposite color. Until you send me some black female surfers, they're all going to be the opposite color.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're talking about sending you some black female surfers, growing up in Baltimore, if somebody wanted to do basketball or something like that, of course, you had opportunities to kind of play with it. What kind of skills would they need to have, up front, just kind of athletic? I mean, can you teach somebody surfing, or do they kind of have to have that thing?
Well, the thing about surfing is it's one of those sports that I love it because it's an individual sport. Mm-hmm. In other words, it doesn't matter. When I have a surfer and right before a heat, I'll ask the surfer, who's in your heat? And before they answer, I go, it doesn't matter. Because no matter what that other person does in that heat, the only thing that's going to matter is what you do in the heat. Whereas basketball is more of a team sport kind of thing.
Right.
But I have to clarify here, okay? I don't teach surfing. I coach surfing.
Gotcha.
So they have to already have those skills, and they're already intending on competing when they come to me. But organizations like Black Girl Surf and also Black Surfers Collective, they provide you with the rudimentary skills for what you need to have the basic pleasure of just going out and having fun on the weekend with no desire to compete. Now, when I go with them, because I am a certified coach and judge, and because, I do have the experience, I will come out there with the Black Surfers Collective and will assist them. And they'll tell you, man, I'm hard on them because I'll come back and quiz them later on to see whether they were listening to the instructor. I have to say, dude, you know what, though? The people who have had the courage to come out and try it for the first time, they've always been able to answer my question because they were listening to the instructor because they really want to know, and they're tired of people saying they can't do something. And once they get hooked onto it, they go out and rent a little, even if they start off with a soft foam board so you don't get hurt when you're learning how to do it. You don't have to go out there and be some professional surfer.
Right.
And it's sad because I know there are some qualified black folks on the East Coast who are into swimming and who are into surfing, but they're not back there reaching out to the other folks to get them more likely to be interested in water sports. I was so proud during the Olympics when we had not one but 2 black women getting medals for swimming. I was so upset, though, when the media overshadowed it by talking about 2 white boys getting drunk and getting in trouble down in Brazil. That's how they steal the story from you. But this is where Chief would be saying I'm getting off the subject here.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I digressed.
Yes, sir. But it's just fascinating that there have been so many folks over the years. People of color who have been engaged in surfing, but you never heard of them because
absolutely.
I can tell you that I remember, same thing. I'm dating myself, but I remember watching the cliff diving, for example. And I know there was a guy, Rick, there was a cliff diver. I was just so amazed, like, wow, that's a black guy, and he's cliff diving. And you just, when you put it in the historical perspectives, when you're talking about the countries that have the warm water climates and all the other places and all those types of things. It's just unfortunate that there haven't been more people of color involved in surfing. Just from not from the segregationist perspective, but just in terms of the competition. Because just imagine if you truly had the best of the best. I'm talking about white, green, black, purple, whatever your race is, and all these guys and girls were on a stage where they were really competing. I mean, surfing would just be incredible because as well as I do, you have those folks just like in skateboarding, for example. You have guys now that are they are doing backflips and they're standing on their heads and they're doing all kinds of amazing things that you would have never thought were possible. These guys and girls are literally defying gravity. So I can just imagine the things that may be occurring if you truly had the best of the best going head to head, whether you're in Hawaii or you're surfing in Malibu or wherever the good surfing places are. So
Well, what I want to tell you, brother, it's coming. I wrote a little, because you know me, I couldn't care less. And they read they read. They may not comment, but they read my stuff. And I already told them that surfing is going to become like the NBA. And you know what the NBA used to be called, right? Nothing but Africans.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say surfing is going to become like the NBA? Because now people are getting away from the ocean and are holding contests in these indoor pools. Indoor surfing pools. Kelly Slater a couple of years ago built one out here on the Native American in Central California Native American land, and everybody wants to go to Kelly's ranch. Now they're cropping up all over the country. So you're going to start seeing blacks who've never been at the ocean now going to be surfing in these indoor ranches, and just like with tennis with the Williams or in golf with Tiger Woods or all these other sports that they've been kept out of for so long, they're going to end up being major competitors, because with the Olympics coming up next year, it's in Japan. The waves in the summertime in Japan are really horrific. So I would assume if they're going to even make an Olympic demo sport for surfing, they're going to have to create a facility similar to Kelly Slater's here in California for them to hold any type of an Olympic event for surfing next year.
Well,
and once they get that off the ground, brother, you're going to have Baltimore, Maryland is going to have an indoor soon. You watch, mark my words.
Well, that'd be interesting. And again, for the sake of the competition, you just hope that everyone that wants to participate and has the talent and the heart to do it will at least have the opportunity to do it. You know what I mean? Because I think when you get past all the politics and all the other things that go into sports and allowing people into sports and so forth, when you just look at folks that just want to compete, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the exciting part. Just
brother,
folks
you don't know
that
how
just
much
want
you're
to
resigning.
compete.
Okay, one of the reasons I love going to the international events, you know who I was with last year? I was with the Russians. I was with the Chinese. I was with the Taiwanese. I was with countries that people think we're at war with. Dude, when we go to surf contests, we're not talking politics. I'm there with young people who just want to go out and enjoy the sport. The saddest part about it, I ended up coaching like 30 different girls at that contest last year because they were the junior team. We had the Junior World Championships of Huntington Beach, and they didn't even have coaches for many of them because they're so interested in only working with the ones they think are going to be in the 2020 Olympics, so they're working with the older people. And these young people who are starving for somebody just to give them some guidance, some mature leadership. And many of them came there without even a head coach. And I'm like, hey, I'll coach you, because I don't charge for my surfing. I don't charge for coaching them. I charge nothing what I give the girls. And so they know that I have no ulterior motive. My love is agape love. The parents know about me before they come out here. A lot of them, before they get to the U.S., they always tell them to make sure they find me and look me up because they don't have to worry about the boys harassing them if I'm there. But more importantly, I have to look out for them because we live in this era now where everybody's a Mexican illegal immigrant. And since most of my surfers come from South America, when they're at the beach, they're not carrying ID with them because they have no place to put it while they're in the water. Mm-hmm. It's great. I don't drink anymore because I never know when I'm going to get that call at 1 o'clock in the morning to come get somebody to make sure they don't get in trouble. So, brother, when I hear you, Chief, when I hear you talking about the opportunity and not talking the politics, it's so great to be around people from other countries who just want to enjoy a sport and they don't care less about the politics.
Right, and that's the whole key, because surfing, you can just look at the at the energy that it takes, and you can see that it takes endurance.